Have you ever seen a garden that just felt right? Where everything seems to grow bigger, greener, and healthier, without a single weed out of place or a drop of chemical in sight. That's what an Amish garden often looks like. It's not magic. It's not about buying expensive tools or following the latest trends. It's about old-fashioned wisdom passed down through generations. These people have been gardening for hundreds of years, not for fun or decoration, but for survival. And over time, they've learned some incredible tricks that most modern gardeners never even think of. You don't have to live in a farmhouse or give up electricity to learn from them. These are timeless gardening hacks that work just as well in a suburban backyard as they do on a rural homestead. From improving soil to growing more food in less space, the Amish know how to make a garden produce more with less effort. Let's explore 25 of their best gardening secrets. The kind that will make you say, "Why didn't I know this sooner?" Feed the soil, not just the plant. The Amish believe that the secret to healthy plants isn't what you feed them directly, but how well you feed the soil they grow in. Their gardens are full of rich, dark earth that's been built up over the years with natural compost, manure, rotted leaves, wood ash, and kitchen scraps. Instead of buying synthetic fertilizers, they rely on these organic materials to create a living soil full of earthworms and microbes. This living soil holds moisture better, resists pests and disease, and keeps feeding plants week after week. By putting energy into the soil first, the Amish ensure that the garden takes care of itself. The Amish often skip deep digging and use shallow or no-till gardening. They let compost break down naturally to feed the plants. This keeps the soil healthy and strong. Treating soil with care helps your garden grow better every year. Use the moon as your calendar. It may sound like folklore, but many Amish families still plan their planting around the phases of the moon. The idea is simple. When the moon is waxing, that is, growing from a new moon to a full moon, you plant crops that grow above the ground like lettuce, beans, or tomatoes. When the moon is waning, shrinking from full moon back to new, you plant root crops like carrots, onions, or potatoes. The belief is that the moon's gravitational pull affects water levels in the soil, just like it affects the ocean tides. Some Amish farmers say that crops planted in the right moon phase sprout faster, grow taller, and resist disease better. While modern science doesn't always agree, generations of gardeners have sworn by this method, and it's free to try. All you need is a calendar and some patience. Who knows? Your best harvest ever might be written in the stars. Let plants help each other. Amish gardeners are masters of companion planting, a system where certain plants are grown together because they help each other thrive. For example, basil planted next to tomatoes improves the flavor of the tomatoes and keeps away certain insects. Beans grow well with corn because they climb the tall stalks, while their roots return nitrogen to the soil. Squash spreads out at the base, shading the ground and keeping weeds down. This three sisters method of corn, beans, and squash is one of the oldest companion planting systems known, and it's still used in many Amish gardens today. Amish gardens mix plants together like a puzzle. Some herbs and flowers, like marigolds, are planted to keep bugs away or bring in bees. This smart planting helps the garden grow better without using chemicals. Save seeds from the best plants. When you buy seeds every year, you're depending on someone else's crop. But the Amish rarely do that. Instead, they save seeds from their own gardens, especially from the strongest, healthiest, best-producing plants. Over time, those seeds become perfectly adapted to their soil, their weather, and even the specific microclimate of their yard. The Amish dry and save seeds, keeping them in jars or envelopes for the next year. Some families pass down the same seeds for decades. These homegrown seeds are chosen for flavor and strength, not shipping. Saving seeds makes your garden more self-reliant and meaningful. Mulch like you mean it. One of the first things you'll notice in an Amish garden is that there's almost no bare soil. Everything is covered with straw, grass clippings, old hay, shredded leaves, or even newspaper. This thick layer of mulch does a lot more than keep the weeds down. It holds in moisture, protects roots from the hot sun, prevents soil erosion during heavy rains, and adds organic matter as it breaks down. Mulching is so important to the Amish that many will spend hours spreading it by hand, making sure every bed is well covered. It's one of their most effective lazy gardening hacks, because once the mulch is in place, the work of weeding and watering drops dramatically. And since they often don't use hoses or sprinklers, keeping moisture in the soil is critical. If you're tired of dry, cracked dirt and endless weeding, this one habit could change everything. Chickens as garden helpers. On Amish farms, chickens aren't just for eggs and meat. They're also excellent helpers in the garden, especially at the start and end of the season. When the growing beds are empty, chickens are often let loose to scratch up weeds, eat insect eggs and larvae, and fertilize the soil with their droppings. It's a natural cleanup crew, and the chickens love the chance to dig, peck, and explore. Timing matters. Amish keep chickens out during growing season, but let them in after harvest to clean up and enrich the soil. Some use movable pens to protect the chickens while they work. This helps the garden and gives fresh eggs too. A smart and simple system. Rotate crops without the fancy charts. The Amish don't need software or spreadsheets to rotate crops. They just follow a simple rhythm. Heavy feeders like corn, squash, and tomatoes go in one area one year. The next year, that area gets beans or peas to fix nitrogen in the soil. After that, it might be root crops like carrots or beets which take less from the soil. Then the cycle starts again. The Amish rotate crops to keep soil healthy and stop pests. Planting the same crop in one spot every year causes problems. But switching crops each season helps the garden grow better without chemicals. Even small gardens can do this. Just remember last year's spot. Start seeds indoors with everyday items. Amish families often get a head start on the growing season by starting their seeds indoors, but they don't go to the garden store for trays or plastic cells. They use whatever's on hand. Eggshells, paper cups, newspaper pots, or even hollowed-out squash rinds. These small containers are filled with rich soil, then placed near a window or warm wood stove to help seeds sprout early. Starting seeds indoors means they can transplant strong, healthy seedlings into the garden as soon as the weather allows. This gives their plants a longer growing season and a better chance of survival. Plus, it avoids the shock that comes from putting fragile seeds directly into cold, rough soil. You don't need expensive grow lights or equipment. Just a little creativity, warmth, and patience. Starting early can mean harvesting weeks ahead of schedule, and that can make a huge difference in your food supply. Use cold frames to grow in winter. The growing season doesn't stop when the temperature drops. Many Amish gardeners use cold frames, simple boxes with glass or plastic tops, to grow lettuce, spinach, radishes, and herbs even in the cold months. These frames trap heat from the sun, creating a mini greenhouse effect that keeps plants safe from frost. You'll often see old windows repurposed as lids, sitting atop wooden boxes filled with rich soil. Even a few straw bales with a glass pane laid across can make a difference. Cold frames are especially useful for hardening off young plants before planting them outside in spring. In areas with short summers or unpredictable weather, this method can stretch the growing season by weeks or even months. With just a little effort, you can be harvesting fresh greens while your neighbors are still scraping frost off their cars. Plant perennials that come back every year. While most gardens focus on annuals like tomatoes or beans that must be planted each year, the Amish make good use of perennials, plants that return year after year with little effort. Asparagus, rhubarb, strawberries, herbs like mint and thyme, and fruits like raspberries or blueberries are all common in Amish gardens. Perennial plants like rhubarb and asparagus take time to grow at first, but they come back every year, often for decades. They need less work and give food early in the season. Amish gardens mix them with annuals to keep growing longer with less effort. Collect rainwater and use it wisely. Water is life in the garden, and the Amish don't waste it. Since many don't use electric pumps or irrigation systems, they rely heavily on rainwater collection. Large barrels are set up under the eaves of barns and houses to catch water from the roof. This water is then used to hydrate gardens during dry spells, often delivered by hand in watering cans or gravity-fed hoses. The Amish collect rainwater because it's gentle and clean for plants. They store it in barrels to use during dry times. Instead of watering every day, they water deeply at the roots. This helps plants grow strong and saves water. No fancy systems needed. Use compost like black gold. In an Amish garden, compost isn't just a pile of scraps. It's the engine that makes everything grow. They compost everything: fruit peels, vegetable trimmings, manure, leaves, straw, even old hay and grass clippings. These materials are layered in piles or bins and allowed to break down slowly into rich, dark compost. The Amish keep several compost piles at different stages. They turn the piles often to help them break down. The rich compost is then used in the garden to feed the soil. It's free, natural, and works better than store fertilizer, turning waste into healthy plants. Keep the garden close to the kitchen door. Amish homes are usually designed with the garden close by, often just steps from the kitchen door. This isn't just for convenience. A nearby garden gets visited more often. You can check on it quickly, harvest what you need while cooking, and keep a close eye on any issues like pests or dry soil. This proximity encourages daily care. Even just 5 minutes in the morning or evening can make a huge difference in how a garden grows. Herbs, salad greens, and commonly used veggies are often placed closest to the home, so they're easy to reach when preparing meals. If you have a yard or even a small porch, keep at least a few plants within arm's reach of your kitchen. It'll not only make you use them more, but also turn gardening into a natural part of your daily routine instead of a chore. Grow upward, not just outward. Many Amish gardens grow vertically as well as horizontally. Trellises, fences, poles, and cages help support climbing plants like beans, peas, cucumbers, and tomatoes. Growing up instead of out saves space, improves airflow, reduces disease, and makes harvesting easier. The Amish build their own plant supports using wood or metal they already have. They tie vines gently and train them to grow up. This keeps fruit off the ground, helping prevent rot and pests. Even in small spaces, vertical gardening boosts harvests and saves space. Grow in raised beds, but the Amish way. While the Amish don't always use the raised beds you might find at the hardware store, they often create natural raised garden rows. These are wide, mounded beds with paths in between, shaped using hand tools and compost. The soil in these rows stays looser, drains better after rain, and warms faster in the spring, which helps seeds sprout earlier. Amish raised beds are made by layering natural materials like straw, compost, and soil. The raised rows help roots grow better and prevent the soil from getting packed down. They reuse the same beds each year by adding fresh compost. It's simple, low cost, and works well. Use herbs as insect control. In an Amish garden, herbs aren't just for cooking, they're part of the pest control system. Strong-smelling herbs like mint, basil, thyme, and rosemary naturally deter insects. Lavender and marigold keep aphids and beetles away. Garlic and chives help protect against fungal infections and soil diseases. Amish plant herbs around their gardens to keep bugs away and bring in bees and butterflies. This helps protect crops and boost harvests. The herbs can also be used for teas, soaps, or drying for later. It's a simple, natural way to care for the garden. Harvest rain, dew, and fog. We already talked about collecting rainwater, but the Amish take it even further, especially in dry regions. In some areas, Amish gardeners use wide, shallow bowls or tarps overnight to collect morning dew. Others string up fine cloth between trees or posts to catch fog as it rolls through. The water collects and drips down into containers below. It may seem like a small thing, but every drop counts in a big garden, especially during droughts or dry seasons. They're also careful about how and when they water, usually early in the morning or late in the evening, when less water evaporates. And they often water at the base of each plant by hand, not overhead, to keep leaves dry and diseases down. If you ever face water restrictions or want a garden off-grid, these small habits can make the difference between a thriving patch and a wilted one. Use animals to improve the soil. Amish farmers know their animals aren't just for milk or meat. They're a vital part of the garden cycle. Chickens eat bugs and weed seeds. Goats clear brush. Cows and horses produce manure, which is collected and composted over time to enrich garden beds. The Amish use aged manure to feed their soil. It's left to break down until it's safe and rich with nutrients. They also rotate animals through fields to naturally improve the land. Even without animals, you can use composted manure to boost your garden's health, just like they do. Build windbreaks from nature. In windy areas, Amish families protect their gardens with natural windbreaks, rows of shrubs, trees, or tall plants like sunflowers or corn. These living walls reduce wind speed, protect fragile plants, and prevent soil erosion. Unlike a solid fence that can create turbulence, natural windbreaks slow the wind gently, shielding the garden without cutting off airflow completely. Sometimes, these barriers are multi-purpose. A row of berry bushes can block wind, provide fruit, and house beneficial insects all at once. Or tall sunflowers might protect a patch of lettuce from drying out too fast in summer heat. By observing how the wind moves across their land, the Amish learn to position these windbreaks just right. You don't need a large space to use this trick. Even a few well-placed potted trees or a trellis of pole beans can protect delicate plants, especially when hot winds threaten to dry everything out. Practice true patience in the garden. One of the most important Amish gardening hacks isn't something you can buy or build. It's patience. The Amish know that a garden takes time. Seeds don't grow overnight. Soil doesn't change in a week. Fruit trees may take years before they bear properly. And pests or diseases may require years of adjustment to balance, not a one-spray fix. Instead of rushing or giving up, the Amish observe and adjust. If a plant fails, they learn and try again. This patient approach leads to healthier gardens by respecting nature's rhythm. Modern gardening often feels rushed, but the Amish show us that true joy comes from the process, not just the harvest. Patience helps you understand your garden and build a real connection with the land, something no store-bought product can give. Embrace manual tools for greater control. In a modern world of power tools and machines, the Amish still rely on simple hand tools, and there's a reason for that. Tools like hand hoes, rakes, shovels, dibbers, and scythes give you greater precision and feel. You can work quietly, gently, and in closer harmony with the soil. No roaring engines, no fumes, just you, your hands, and the land. Many Amish gardeners even make or modify their tools to suit their own needs. For example, a hoe with a narrow blade for weeding between tight rows, or a rake shaped just right for pulling compost across a bed. They don't just buy what's trendy, they use what works. And without motors, they become more connected to the pace of the garden. You don't rush when you're digging by hand. You observe. You notice small things. You respond. That kind of slow gardening produces deep knowledge and better results. Use shade to your advantage. While most gardeners think sunlight is everything, the Amish know that shade has its place too. In the heat of summer, they often use row covers, tall plants, or even small cloth awnings to give tender crops like lettuce, spinach, or herbs a break from the midday sun. Some will plant on the east side of a fence or barn to give shade in the afternoon, which keeps crops from wilting. They also use strategic planting, placing tall corn or sunflowers on the west side to shield lower-growing crops from intense heat. This isn't about blocking the sun completely. It's about learning how to balance it, giving just enough light to help things grow, but not so much that they fry. Shade isn't the enemy. Used right, it can extend the life of cool weather crops and help prevent bolting and bitterness. That's a lesson many gardeners overlook, but the Amish never forget. Grow for the whole year, not just summer. Most people think of gardening as something you do in spring and summer, but Amish families plan their gardens to feed them year-round. That means thinking ahead, planting cool weather crops for fall, harvesting and drying herbs for winter, canning tomatoes and green beans, and storing squash and potatoes in root cellars. The Amish grow foods that store well like garlic and squash. They plant in stages for steady harvests and use cover crops to protect soil. This smart planning makes gardening a year-round food source, not just a summer hobby. It's about growing for the future, not just today. Respect nature's timing. Modern gardening often tries to force things, starting seeds too early, planting when it's still cold, or picking before fruit is ripe. The Amish take a different approach. They follow the signs of nature. When the lilacs bloom, it's time to plant beans. When the soil warms to the touch, it's safe for tomatoes. They pay attention to the trees, the insects, the birds. Nature tells them when it's time. The Amish harvest at just the right time, picking fruit when it's ripe and veggies before they turn bitter. They follow nature's pace, not rushing. This makes gardening easier, more rewarding, and the food tastes better and lasts longer. Garden with the whole family. For the Amish, gardening isn't a solo job. It's a family tradition. Children as young as 3 are given small tasks: gathering eggshells for compost, watering seedlings, or picking peas. Teenagers learn how to weed rows, save seeds, or help rotate crops. Parents and grandparents work side by side, passing on knowledge that can't be found in books. Gardening as a family builds more than food. It creates memories, skills, and teamwork. Even a small city garden can bring everyone together. Kids enjoy watching plants grow and are more likely to eat what they helped with. Gardening together is simple, fun, and meaningful. Which of these Amish gardening hacks are you excited to try first? Or do you already use one in your own garden? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you found these tips helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who loves gardening as much as you do.